Okay, so good day, guys. So we will discuss our last module, no? Um, our module 7, which is data abstraction and object orientation, no? So the idea of this is that when we say data abstraction, it is a principles in a programming that involves hiding the complex implementation, the details of the data, and exposing only the necessary parts. And this allows also to the programmers to interact with the data at a higher level without needing to understand the intricate workings behind it. So one of the key points are, number one, we have data encapsulation under data abstraction. Well, the idea of this is to bundling of data with the methods that can operate on that data, for example, and it restricts the direct access to some of the object components, meaning we prevent unintended interference and misuse. The other key points in data abstraction are meron tayong tinatawag na abstract data types or ADT, meaning these are the data types where only the behavior is defined and not in the implementation. But for example, a stack ADT, okay, might have the operation like a push and pop, di ba, sa ating data structure, at saka uh, push, pop, and pick, no? But underlying the data structure, mayroon tayong array, linked list, no, na hidden. Okay? For object orientation, ang idea dito are the OOP, no? One of the example is OOP or object oriented programming. OOP is a paradigm based that is on the concept of objects which can contain data and code to manipulate the data. And the main principles of the OOP, meron tayong tinatawag na class and objects, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation, and abstraction. Okay, again, a class and object is a class or a blueprint for a subject objects in instances. Okay, an object that instantiate a class of a class. Inheritance, ito yung new class to inherit properties and methods from existing class, no? While polymorphism, ito yung object to be treated as instance, no, of the parent class rather than the actual class. So a polymorphism, it enables one interface to be used or to be for a general class of actions. Si encapsulation as a method that is mentioned earlier, that this involves bundling of data and methods that operates on the data within one unit, and restricting access to some of the object components. Lastly, the abstraction under object orientation. This is the process of hiding a complex reality which exposing only the necessary parts. So it is achieved through the abstract classes and interfaces. Okay, so why abstraction? Okay, so why we use abstraction? So the point here are the reasons why we use abstraction. Number one is easier to think about it, meaning we hide what doesn't matter. So what of this aspect, no, is simplification, which means that abstraction allow you to focus on a high level concept without getting bogged down by the details. For example, when you use the car, so you think about driving it, okay? So not how that engine works. Then another thing is, another aspect, we have modularity. So you have to breaking down in the complex system into simpler one that can be, for example, manageable parts, for example, and you can work on each part independently. So this make it easier to understand, develop, and maintain the system. So for example, if you want to have a system, it's better you have to chunk, no, into a different module that would be um, easier to manage. Okay. So number two, we have another reason why we use abstraction sa object-oriented programming. Second is protection. So what are the aspects belong here, belong to protection? So when we see protection is to prevent access to things you shouldn't see. For example, we have encapsulation. Okay, sa encapsulation, abstraction help encapsulate the internal workings of a component and exposing only what is necessary or no, what is only necessary. So, para ma-prevent to sa mga unintended interface and misused. Another aspect under protection is security. Okay? So, by hiding the implementation details, and you can also protect sensitive data and ensure that the only authorized parts of the program can access a certain information. Okay? Okay, so OOP is currently ruling. Okay? So, it a cross-cuts paradigm. So, ang cross-cutting paradigm, like we have imperative object-oriented. So, we have C++, Java, C Sharp, Python, and etc. So, when we say imperative operating object-oriented, itong mga programming languages na to follow the imperative paradigm where you can write instruction for the computer to follow step by step. So, ang OOP dito enhances and organizing the code into objects and classes. While si functional OO, one of the sample programming language of this is Scala and F sharp. So, i-combine niya yung functional programming principles with the OOP. So, for the immutable data structures and higher order functions, will it benefited from the OOP features like inheritance and encapsulation. The last one, we have a logical operating object-oriented. Okay? One of the example of programming languages of this, dito sa logical OO, is like Prolog, no? Languages like Prolog. So, are you familiar with this? So, ang Prolog can be extended now with an object-oriented features, although this is less common. Okay? It allows logical reasoning with a rule-based programming to combine with the modularity and structure with OOP. Pero mas, mas matrabaho si Prolog, no? So, what are the benefits of object-oriented? Number one, convenient syntax. Okay? So, paano natin masasabing convenient syntax siya? The reason is, ang OOP languages can often provide syntax that makes it easier to define and manipulate objects. So, making code more readable and maintainable. So, ang inheritance, it allows the code, no, for a code to reuse and creation of mga hierarchical relationships between classes, so that reducing also redundancy. The third one, we have dynamic method binding. So same with tawag natin binding and scope. Meron itong tinatawag ang dynamic method binding. It's also known as a polymorphism. This allows method to be overridden in a derived classes, enabling more flexible and dynamic behavior. Okay, so that's dynamic method binding, So the last one benefit of operating object-oriented programming is encapsulation. So by binding the data, bundling the data and methods together, and restricting access, encapsulation also helps protect the integrity of the data and promotes modularity. Okay, so that's it cross-cuts paradigms. So the language needs a way of defining a class. For example, name, a superclass, fields, no? We have methods. So for example, we have to create it's a C++. Okay, so allow me to, okay. So let's try to have a online C++ compiler na lang. See. Zoom natin para mas visible siya. Ayan. Okay. So let's try to create how to define a class, like for example a name, a superclasses, a fields, a methods. So fields and methods is always equals to a member of a class. So we have here an example of C++ code. So I want to try of applying this, how to a language need a way of defining a class. So how we define a class in C++. Okay, so namespace. Okay, namespace is std. And then, for example, we will define a class animal. So let's try to create a class animal. And then, so we set some of the variables under this. So let's put a public so that it can access every other classes. Ma-access siya sa mga ibang classes. For example, we have a variable of string, data type string, name, variable of name, which is a string, and we have a integer. Example, our integer is age. And then, if we are done with declaring a variables, so let's create a methods or a member of this function under this class animal. We have a methods here. So for example, let's try to use void speak, for example. So yan. So for example, print tayo natin cout animal speaks, for example. Wait. Tapos and L. So So we are done with creating a methods. So okay, after this, we will now define another a subclass under animal. So let's inherit, no? Okay, for example, we have class dog. So this is under public animal class. Okay, and next we have to yan, public. Okay, then method. Then since nagamit na natin dito yung method, so ano tayo, lagay tayo ng another animal which is dog. So ano yung in-speak niya, nagbabark siya. For example, see out, the dog barks. Okay. Okay. And then so since we are done with our a subclass named dog that inherits from a class animal. Again, we have a member of variables. We have the string name at int age. Okay, and then after we create a class animal, so we also define as another subclass which name a class name, subclass name, which is dog. So we inherit this dog from the animal class. Okay, and then after that, so let's now go to our main program. Okay, so let's instantiate our dog class. So we have dog and my dog. Okay, so instantiated now. So we will now try to use the instantiated object. So we have my dog that. So let's access now our variable under class animal. Then we will get you will put a value. Si Bali yung name ng ating dog, no? And then another attributes under my dog, we have my dog that age. Okay, so for example, the age of the dog is 3 months, for example. Okay, and now let's access the methods, no? So my dog that, so access the method speak. Okay, and then it returns to 0. Let's return it to 0 after accessing the methods and end. Okay, so let's try to run this program. So let's try where is the error. Dog dapat. Another, run again. Public. So let's run again. Class dog. Okay. Dito sa public. Okay, run again. Okay, dog speak. Spelling. Okay. I think it's already now go. Okay, so the output is the dog barks. Okay. So see, the idea here, um, we use a class name, and our class name is a superclass. Our superclass is that animal, no, superclass animal, and then we also put a methods under a class animal. We have a void speak, okay, and since we created a method, we also define a subclass named dog, and we also inherit from the animal. So class dog, colon, public animal, so we inherit sa animal class. Then we have a method which we have, meron tayong dog barks. Ipa-out natin yung dog barks. Then we create a main method where our main program where we access and we instantiate the different the dog we instantiate the dog function, and then our new name, our new object name is my dog. So my dog, we access the variable name since this is the variable is public. So everything here is present, no? We have the fields, we have the methods, no? We have the superclass, we have the name of the class. So that's how object-oriented works in our program. So that's for Java. How about in, that's for C++, how about in Java? So same purpose, no? So let's try to look for a compiler for Java. Java compiler. Okay. Okay. So we have public class. So that's a main program. So wait lang. Okay, so let's try have class animal. And then after that, what are the fields we have? So meron tayong string name. Another we have int age. So after that, meron tayong methods or a member of a function. So again, void speak. So parang same lang, no? Okay. So system.out system.out.println. For example, we have dog box. Okay. And then, so we are done with this member method, member functions. So let's create a subclass. Same sa C++. We will create a subclass which is dog that inherits a class animal. So a subclass, we have a class dog. Then we inherit. So how to inherit in C++ or in Java? So we will use the keyword extends and then animal. Okay. So now let's access our methods. So void speak, and then system dot out dot print line. So for example, our method here is dog barks. Yan. Okay, then semicolon. And now, so dito na to sa ating main program. Okay. So we will now instantiate our class dog, instantiate new name, so my dog. Then we have equals new dog. So that's how we instantiate an object, how to create an object dito sa Java. So we have my dog, then my dog, which the new name of an object equals a new dog. Okay. Okay. And then, so what's the next? We will now access the what? So we will use the object name, then we will access the attributes in our animal class. So what are the attributes there? We have the string name and int age. Okay, so we have my dog name, and then that name equals, we have body. Okay, then my dog that age, then equals 3, and then method my dog, tapos that speak, tapos so ayan. So same with C++. Ang kaibahan lang dito yung import niya, yan, yung system out that print line at saka yung main program. Okay, so let's try to run this, guys. Run. Okay, so wala tayong semicolon. So run ulit. The dog barks. Public class main. So wala na tayo dito. Wala na tayong public class. Ayan. Correct. Good stuff. Mhm. Saan yung error? Try lang. Wait lang ha. Ba't ayaw? Ay, sobra ng ano. Okay. Use uneven fitness classes. Public static voiding. There's something wrong with this compiler, online compiler. Ano ba yung kulang ko, ha? Let's check. I forgot public. I forgot. Wait lang. I forgot. Loving you. La 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 la. public static void main. I don't know guys, hasan yung problema ko dito, baka nakalimutan ko lang. Basta ang idea dito yung output is dog barks, no? Kalimutan ko lang, wait lang ha. So proceed tayo, baka mabusa tayo ng oras. Yan, polymorphism. Okay, so enough. So let's proceed. Yan. So okay, so ang object-oriented supports data hiding and protections. So there are four kinds of visibility protection sa Java. First is a public. So meaning members like fields, method, and classes declared in the public are accessible from any other classes. And when we see protected, only the members declared as protected are accessible within the same package and by subclasses. So sa default, like visible to subclasses is same module, meaning if no visibility modifier is specified, the member is accessible only within the two package. Then next we have private, meaning the members declared as private are accessible only within the class that they are declared in. Okay? So, for example, Java uses explicitly visible modifiers to control access to a class member. So, I will try this. Okay, so for example, let's try this. There's something wrong with the class name talaga. Dapat compiler lang dapat dito. Compiler. So, as we can see here, meron tayong public int, public character, public variable 1, protected int variable 2, int default variable 3, private int, private var 4. So, ayan, we have we have private, we have protected variables. So this is how object-oriented supports in hiding and protection of a variable, no? So that's how OOP supports And next we have